So today, some exciting updates, which I think reflects the number of people on the call. Well, at least I think they're exciting. It's to do with CoPilot, which we'll get to in a bit. Once we've covered that, I'm going to look at preparing for CoPilot quickly. Not much, can't spend a lot of time in half an hour, but we'll have a look at that and see how we get on. Okay, before we get into CoPilot, at least most of you are buying your campus agreements through a JISC agreement. No news there, people have been doing it for years, but as some of you are aware, the agreement came to an end on the 31st of December. So this will affect some of you that are renewing your agreements in this month or next month, really, while Microsoft and JISC thrash out the terms. But before we get into the new agreement, a quick recap of what it is and why it's important. Well, the first thing is it gives access to an EES agreement to institutions, including schools now, with 100+ staff, whereas in reality, you need 1,000 staff to access a campus agreement. So this is the first benefit of a JISC agreement. Next, even if you already have 1,000 staff in your own right, you get a price break of 3,000+ staff. So there's benefits buying this agreement, even if you've got 1,000 staff in your own right. Even if you have 3,000+ staff, in the last iteration of this agreement, it was still beneficial to buy under the JISC agreement because there were some quite favourable discounts for the A5 licenses. Now, the price break we talk about is only on the main Microsoft 365 licenses, not on the whole agreement. What will happen with the new agreement, we don't know. People are under NDA and they won't share any information with you. This then doesn't affect any of you that are currently in an agreement, because you will stay on the current terms until your agreement comes to an end, and then you join on the new terms, which we will find out what they are. The reason I'm bringing this up before we know what the terms are, it does affect the people renewing in January and February. Because there's no master agreement in place, we can't place your order for campus with Microsoft without that agreement. So how does this affect you? Well, from a licensing point of view and from carry on working, Microsoft have put an extended grace period in place. That means nothing is going to stop working until they have sorted it out. So no need to worry from that point of view, even if you do get some emails from Microsoft saying that you haven't renewed and your services are going to stop. That isn't going to happen, just to be aware of it. It should only be the administrators who get that email anyway. So when you do get this agreement in place, we will then put the PO on for you, and the agreement will be backdated to when your previous agreement was due. So when Barry has been quoting you now, he doesn't know what, if any, JISC discounts are in place. So what will happen is, as soon as we know, we'll be back in touch and we will requote you, but the quotes that Barry has done is at level B, so the normal without any discounts. So as soon as we know what that discount is, we will make sure that that is transacted for you. There is a nominal fee for this agreement, but it more than pays for itself. And this fee isn't payable to Microsoft or ourselves, it's payable to JISC. And a lot of you will be aware of this already. Okay, that's enough on that. Hopefully next month we'll have more news on this. So firstly, for those of you who are using Teams for Education in your teaching for your students, there has been a mobile app in place for a few months now that is available for parents to connect into Teams to view a student's progress. They can view upcoming assignments and get insights into how their excuse me, child is doing. Even though it's been around for a while, it is now in general availability, which means it is the product that Microsoft are going to market with. To get this to work, ideally you would have school data sync in place so that you can bring your parents' personal emails into Teams so that they can get access to the system. So in reality, this is a tool that helps you engage with parents on how your students are progressing. Okay, now on to CoPilot. So the first announcement is from last month, really. And last month I mentioned that CoPilot is now Bing Enterprise Chat. So when you log into Bing Enterprise Chat, you get the CoPilot search functionality. And staff have already been given this license from Microsoft. It's free of charge. Now, other co-pilots have been renamed based on what product they assist you with. So the main one for people that are going to want a co-pilot from Microsoft 365, which gives you, sorry, excuse me. It gives you generative AI assistance within your Office apps. So within Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Teams, it gives you that Gen AI functionality within your day-to-day apps. Now, Bing Enterprise Chat, if you log in, you get that safe private functionality. And as I said, it's already been available to staff. But also in December, Microsoft announced that students are now given a license if they are in HE and if they are over 18 years of age. Let me just check if there's anything else I need to mention here. Yeah, so from a co-pilot or AI point of view, as institutions, you probably need to sit down and decide how you're going to handle AI, whether you're going to embrace it, whether you're going to not give access to it within your own networks. That's something for you as institutions you will need to decide. But you can disable functionality for this by removing licenses, co-pilot licenses from your staff and your students now within your Microsoft 365 admin port. Okay, now the big one. Well, at least from my point of view, the the news most people have been wondering about is when can they get their hands on CoPilot for Microsoft 365. And as I said, this is where you can get the Gen AI functionality within your Office apps. Since our last webinar in December, Microsoft have announced that CoPilot is available and was coming available to education from the 1st of January. It was available via an amendment with Microsoft, so you had to have a sign-up from Microsoft and you had to commit to 300 users. And we've been discussing this with institutions and customers over the last 2 weeks. Then Monday night, out of the blue, Microsoft have announced the general availability for CoPilot for Microsoft 365. And this is for all customers. So the first part of the announcement said that if you have an Office 365 license as opposed to a Microsoft 365 license, you can now get CoPilot. Previously, it was just Microsoft 365. So now anybody who has Microsoft 365 Business Standard or Business Premium, Microsoft 365 E3 or E5, or A3 or A5, and now Office 365 E3, E5, A3 and A5 can purchase a CoPilot license for Microsoft 365. It is going to be available in CSP agreements and in EES agreements. Although the education SKUs aren't yet available in CSP, but they are coming. So the big one, as far as I'm concerned, there will be no minimum purchase for CoPilot for Microsoft 365 moving on. So if you want to get your hands on it and have a play and buy a few licenses, then you can now do it under EES. I mentioned EES because most of you here are on that agreement. Now, even though it was announced that it was currently available, Microsoft being Microsoft, their back-end processes haven't quite caught up yet. So pricing isn't yet available on the price lists, but we're expecting that to happen in the next few days. So the news is any EES customer can now buy CoPilot for Microsoft 365, and they can buy it for as many users as they want. So that's the main news. But on top of that, CoPilot Pro was announced. Now, CoPilot Pro is a subset of CoPilot for Microsoft 365. But it is for individual users, for personal users. So if you've got Office Home or Office Personal, you can add CoPilot Pro to it. But for education, the main go-to product is going to be CoPilot for Microsoft 365. Also, some of you may have heard about semantic index. And that is going to be added to everybody's tenancy in the near future. Now, it's new functionality that provides a different index to Microsoft Search within your tenancy. And what this index is going to do is have individual indexes for just the data that the users themselves have got access to. Okay, so that's the semantic index. There's no licensing for it, but it's going to appear in your tenancies moving forward. Okay, Now getting ready for CoPilot. This is going to be very familiar to most of you because adding new licenses and apps into your establishments, you've been doing it for years. So to get ready for CoPilot, there's a couple of things you need to consider. The first one is just enough access and getting ready for search. Now, this in itself is not a prerequisite for CoPilot, but it does mean you need to be particularly careful in what data people can get access to. Okay, if I take an example maybe to illustrate this. Let's say, for example, you've created some documents on a merger of a few colleges. You've assessed the impact on users. You've looked at what licenses you need. So you've got all these documents there. And you can ask CoPilot to create a report for you based on your recent documents. So you've got a report in place that you can present to the senior management team. However, the senior management team might have some documents, sensitive documents with information like redundancies that this might cause. And you shouldn't be privy to that information. But because your security is set up in such a way that you haven't given just enough access for everybody, you could end up with that information in the report, because CoPilot will use your current security to search for documents that you need. So it could cause problems. It's not a prerequisite, but it's best practice to get this in place. Some tools that you can use for this assessment. You can use the tools in SharePoint or Teams, but probably the main tools you're going to be using are Purview and possibly even Syntax. More on Purview in a minute. So just to confirm, this step isn't necessary, but will help ensure the success of any projects. Next, you need to check all the prerequisites. They're in the links there, and Marcus are adding all the links into your chat windows as we go along. But prerequisites are Office, OneDrive is needed as well, and a few other things, and you can find it there. To install it, there is a wizard in the Microsoft 365 admin page under Setup, which you can use to install. I think it's under Email and Apps that you can use to install CoPilot. You can then assign licenses to users within that wizard, or you can just use your standard license assignment tools like scripts or groups, for instance, or even tools from, I can't remember the name of the company, but they're quite prevalent in education. Then finally, like any project, have a centre of excellence in place or product champions to assist users getting the best out of the product. This will give you the best experience. How am I doing on time? Okay. So if we move on to Purview, what is Purview? So what it is, it's actually a rebrand of two products. So it's the Microsoft Compliance Suite in A3 and A5, as well as Azure Purview, which is a separate tool available within Azure. So it's a Purview is a branding of both these products together. The compliance products are in Microsoft 365 A3 and A5, or you can add them using the A5 compliance bundle if you're on the A3 license. Some of you already have them. Some of you have certain components of them. When we look at the tools in there, you have information protection. This gives you sensitivity labels and information types that allows you to categorize documents. You've got data lifecycle management, which gives you things like retention policies for managing what data to keep and for how long, because if you've got old data, it might reflect badly in the documents you've created. And also with the new storage rules within Microsoft, keeping your data to only what you need will help. It looks as if I've been thrown out of my slides, but never mind about that. Oh, I'm back in. And then there's data loss prevention, which allows you to set policies on your documents. And these policies can say what you can do with documents, especially the ones with sensitivity labels, for you to manage who has access to what. So those three tools are mainly what are going to be used in getting your system ready for search. But there are other tools in here as well, things like communications compliance, e-discovery, and insider risk management. You can find out about all of them off of these links. Okay, it hasn't moved my... Are you able to move my slides on, Mark?
No, I can't. There is an option to navigate forward for each user, but that wouldn't be the same. That wouldn't be like the central location. I think they can skip forward and back as they want.
Let me just share it again then, just to be...
Yeah.
Okay, it doesn't look as if... Oh, hold on. Now let's share again. Okay, quickly get back to where I was.
Yeah, I can see all that now. That's the Purview side.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So when we look at Purview, there's two components to it, as you can see in this graphic. Risk and compliance, we've already just discussed those, and they're in your A3 and A5 licenses. Then you have unified data governance. Now, unified data governance is in Azure, and it's licensed on a pay-as-you-go basis in Azure. It's a unified solution that will look at all your cloud data repositories, whether they be in Azure, whether they be in your SaaS, or whether they're in your Amazon subscriptions. So it brings you a full picture of what's going on within your network. And it includes three components: a data map, and this data map is the foundation of the product, and it captures metadata about all your data in all the different locations. across your estate, and it maps out all that data. The data catalog then is a tool that allows browsing of data for your users across all the individual resources. And finally, there's data insights, which are tools that your data officers, for example, will use to understand what's going on with. Basically, the data catalog is what you use for browsing all your data, while your data insights tool in there is for data officers to view any gaps in your compliance. It will see if you've got sensitive documents that people can't see, for instance. So the main tools are going to be in A3 that you want to use, but there's a Purview you can look at if you want to take it a stage further. The eager ones of you will have picked up that I also mentioned Microsoft Syntex. Now, that is a complete document management tool within Azure. Again, available as pay-as-you-go, but it uses AI and machine learning to automatically categorize all your documents and protect your data based on artificial intelligence. It also allows you to manage your business data with workflows, e-signatures, and all of this. It's a full-blown document management solution. Some of you might be interested, but most of you will use the tools in A3. Okay, my final slide, which you can't see, is to do with data privacy and security. Now, Mark will have put the link to the page into your documents, into your chat windows. But there's a lot of information on this page about what Microsoft do with your data and how they keep it secure, etc. So from your data, it can be used to generate CoPilot reports and emails, etc. Now, the data you use is not used to teach the underlying large language module. That data is kept separately. Then the queries you use are stored within your tenancy in an encrypted format, and you can access that data for compliance reasons to see what people are doing with their queries. You can also request via support to get those queries deleted if you want to. But that's a support request into Microsoft at this point. From a regulatory compliance point of view, your CoPilot data is stored within your regions that are used within Office 365. So for GDPR and all those reasons, it'll probably be stored in the UK regions or in EU, depending on where you have your data. One that I do like is they state the accuracy of responses of CoPilot. So their statement is responses that generative AI produces aren't guaranteed to be 100% factual. So just something to be aware of. You should always read and fact check anything it creates. It's still going to save you a lot of time because it will have something on the page for you to work on. So without starting on a blank canvas, it still gives you information, but just make sure that you check what it's saying just to be on the safe side. And finally, on this page is going to be information on Microsoft's commitment to AI, their commitment to responsible AI and how they train the models, etc., how they take into things like ethics, fairness, and all that sort of stuff. If you want that information, it is going to be in that document.